Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening in the stars above us today, July 17th. I actually wrote on my calendar back to work today. This is my first day back working, and it is a doozy. And I just want to say, welcome everybody to the Great Reorientation. We begin a week, we begin the rest of our lives basically today and tomorrow. And through this week, things are changing. Things are always changing, but we have some really crazy things going on. Crazy good, I think. I feel. I'm guessing that some of you out there are feeling like something good is coming or that something big is about to happen. And I'm betting others of you are a little fearful about what some of the things are that you're sensing or some of the changes that may be coming your way. Either end of the spectrum is fine, but the whole idea here is to reorient ourselves in a way that embraces growth and expansion, but also embraces the authentic self. And we're going to dig into a lot of that this morning as we break down some of the things that you think you know and open up to some things that are different, new, perhaps new for you, but also are designed to help us put ourselves in a new perspective, right? To put ourselves in the way of what's new. So I see a lot of people checking in with me this morning. So it's good to be here. I had a great vacation. It was crazy. It started out with that Friday, last Friday, gosh, was it the Friday before last? With a cry for help from my brother in law who has been dealing with his wife's pseudo dementia, let's call it, for the last couple of months. And he was at the end of his tether and he was feeling like it was time to leave the planet. And of course, we all, as a family, are very sensitive to that, especially as we were coming up to the anniversary of Brian's passing. And it was all hands on deck. Everybody just boom over there helping him get some help that he needed, but also helping his wife to really get the help that she needs. And I really had to put myself in the place of medical, not authority, but advocate for her because my brother-in-law, he's a smart man. It's not that he's not smart. It's just that he was overwhelmed. And you know how it is when you get overwhelmed and you just don't think straight. And so I found myself in the doctor's office with her that morning going, two things. One, we want to know what the hell is going on here. And two, we want a plan of action. We want support for both of these people. And we ended up in a 2-hour doctor appointment that day. My love of this person that became her doctor that day was expansive because she just said, okay, right, I will help and sensing, the bigger problem. And of course, my husband, it's his twin brother. So he was very much feeling all of this himself, right? They're twins and they have this magic juju feeling for each other all the time. And so it was just a crazy day. It was a crazy day. And of course, that's the day we're leaving for our vacation to go to Eastern Washington. And I was concerned that leaving would be a bad thing. But guess what the doctor did? She gave me her personal phone number and said, if anything goes wrong, you call me. So then I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, how often does a doctor give you their personal phone number? Just doesn't happen very often in these days. So anyway, we were able then to leave feeling good about the path that everybody was on and great, right? So we went on our trip and expecting everything was going to be just fine from there and it was pretty much for the most part a good trip. But my brand new car breaks down on the trip. We all decide we're going to this place called Palouse Falls, and it's this beautiful high waterfall dropping from, I don't know, 200 or 300 feet up down into this splash pool and into the Palouse River, I believe it is, which leads onto the Snake River. It was just an amazing place. But we never got there because my car broke down. Who expects a brand new car to break down? And yet I was able to granny it back to the house that we were staying in. And there began a 2 or 3 day odyssey of getting this car fixed. Of course, it breaks down on a Sunday in a town where no car dealers are open. And because it's a new car, it has to go to a dealer to be fixed. It can't just go into any old, mechanic. And it turns out, oh, so Monday I call to find out, can you fix my car? The lady on the phone says, I'm so sorry. We are booked all the way into October. And I'm freaking out by this point. I'm like, well, I'm not even home. I'm clear across the mountains from my home. And how am I supposed to get my car fixed? And, I start to panic. And I called the dealer, our dealer, and I said, what are you going to do for me? Right? You sold me this car. You gave me in every indication that it was fine, that it was in good shape, that it was working, it had been tested and all that. And they said, okay, we'll call the dealer for you. So really, literally, it was one stupid little connection from a hose to another hose that came undone because it hadn't been clipped on to the other hose correctly. And I was literally out of the other dealership by, oh, I don't know, 30 minutes. It was awesome. We got it fixed and it's been fine ever since. The rest of the trip went off without a hitch. And here I am today sharing stories of craziness, right? Craziness. So, reorienting, right? I had to reorient. It was so powerful that I had to keep reorienting because I was literally on an edge myself, right? I'd been dealing with for months, basically, with issues in my family and, anticipating the anniversary date of Brian's death. And then, anyway, on and on, right? So I had to pivot. I had to pivot and become more open to experiences that maybe aren't always pleasant, but that I could clearly be in the seat of power in it, right? And create the path that I wanted to go down. So I did that, which gave me the thought this morning, along with Tom's little text yesterday to me about this energy of the week, about holding on. And I think his saying was like holding on to our whats, our rears, our arses. And I thought that's apropos, right? But not from a place of fear, but from a sort of excitement. I mean, raise your hand if you're feeling a little bit excited about this energy that you can feel. Even if you don't know what it is, there's this feeling that is going through, rippling through about possibility and about how we can reorient ourselves, even if it is stressful, right? Even if it is stressful. So, the first of the great reorientations that I want to share with you that occurred to me yesterday as I was putting together some draconic charts that I'm testing with some people today before I offer them to you all as readings. Um, I realized that the moon plays a much more significant role than I think we have, or at least that I have attributed it to than in the past, right? So that the moon is at least as important as the sun, but in a different way, right? The moon, our concept of the moon is that it shines at night. It's kind of mysterious. There's a little bit of mysticism that goes along with the moon. And in that, sometimes it's a feeling of unknowing, like we don't know how to know the moon. So right now, it's so funny because I have a Cancer rising sign, and that's ruled by the moon. I've always had a fascination with the moon, but now suddenly I am able to kind of move into this new pathway of the moon and what it is that we want to do with the moon. And the first thing that I noted yesterday, as I was thinking about the moon, is that here we are today at the new moon, right? The new moon, where there is a conjunction between the sun and the moon. Boom, right? New moon. We know that as a cycle beginning, a new cycle. It is a new cycle beginning, a beginning of the lunation cycle, the lunar cycle. And We know it as a time of setting intentions and of putting forth into the world that which we want to create, right? We set the intention of this is what I want to do, this is who I want to be, this is where I want to go or build, whatever it is that you're setting as your new moon intention. But the new moon comes in the dark. It comes in the dark. A new moon is a point at time where we do not see the moon. It is not in the sky. It has disappeared, at least from our view. And so it is the beginning of something in the dark. We don't know. We don't know exactly what will come next. All we can do is put out what we want, and set those intentions and start to activate the path toward that thing that we are trying to create. But we are in the dark. We don't know exactly what to do. We don't know if what we want will come true. So it's very much a time of having to have faith and to put our best foot forward, right? Your best foot forward in a way that is more intentional. And then the moon moves through these different, the first quarter moon, which is a crisis time, a crisis of action. Oh no, what do I do? Right? What do I do now? And then we get to the full moon. And it didn't occur to me until I was reading a book yesterday about lunation cycle, this one here by Dane Rudyard. If you guys can see that, the lunation cycle, that the full moon is actually a time of new beginnings as well, but it's beginnings in the light. So we're reorienting now. It's not only the new moon that opens up a doorway or a pathway to being able to start something or to set intentions, because the full moon allows us the idea of light, of fullness, to be able to take those steps in the light. Now we can see. We can see maybe from a little bit more maturity of the idea that we put forth with the intention at the new moon, how to recreate, how to reorientation, big word right now. How to in its revealing light, what is it that we have to do next? Right? What hasn't been working in those 2 weeks before we got to the full moon, between the new moon and the full moon? And we have a chance to start again. Maybe not starting as from scratch, but sometimes that's what we have to do too, right? So think of the new moon as a beginning in the dark. And here we are today. We're at a beginning in the dark. We have no, very little consciousness around what it is that we are going to experience from now until the next new moon. We have an intention, right? We have an intention. Maybe we have an intention to be more nurturing for ourselves and others. And we don't know how that's going to look. We don't know what the Achilles heel is going to be in that new moon. But by the time of the full moon 2 weeks from now, if you've put, work into that creation of your next of that intention, you're going to know, you're going to see that it's a time to reorient yourself again, right? But this time in the light. And then the next quarter moon is the crisis of consciousness, where now we see, oh, I might have to change my thinking. I might have to change or reorient the way that I do things, right? I might have to be more willing to embrace something new, right? So think of those moons not just as the new moon being the only time to set an intention or to create something new, because that is going to have to morph and change as you go through the cycle. Think of the full moon now as a way to reorient and reestablish the things that you want to do according to that new moon intention. Woohoo! First big reorientation in our thought processes of the moon. Now let's look at the new moon, because that happens this morning at 11:32, I believe it is, in Washington, D.C. No, 2:32 p.m. in Washington, D.C. or East Coast time, 11:32 a.m. Pacific time. Holy cow, get it out. And the new moon is occurring at 24.56 degrees of Cancer, so literally almost to 25 degrees, sitting right on top of my ascendant It is something personal to me. Now, all of you have your astrology charts, I hope. So take a look at where Cancer is in your chart. This is where the new is coming for you. This is where maybe there's some unconsciousness that is yet to be revealed throughout the course of the next couple of weeks. And it could be in any one of 12 houses. This happens to be actually, technically speaking, in my 12th house because it's not quite advanced over, well, no, in whole sign, it is definitely in my first house, but in Placidus, it might be on the cusp. So when we look at this new moon, what we have is this picture from the Sabian symbols of taking our willpower, our choice, adding it to imagination, what can happen, what could be, and adding action to get to success. Right? There is a very distinct pattern here in this moon teaching us about what it takes to be the creator that you are. Sometimes we're just creating in this vacuum, and we're not really aware of what it is that we're creating, or how, so, like I'm wondering, like, how did I create my new car breaking down? Now, I'm not saying that I caused it, but I am saying it was in my experience, and I was the one that needed to take care of it. For some reason, my husband just like stayed right outside of the whole experience. It was weird. Like, I was the one having to get a tow truck. I was the one having to, mediate with the dealers about what to do and how to get that car to the next dealer. He was strangely silent in all of this. So now I have to go, okay, this was an experience that was all for me. So taking that in, what you're creating, how is it that you have taken your will, your imagination, and action to create something, an impact, right? So that is this moon in a small little crystallization. It is the response of spiritual forces um, to us as humans. It's the spiritual energy that we are putting forth that is driving the experiences that we're having on the planet. And then recognition, right? Recognition of the role that you're playing in everything that's happening, whether it's happening to you personally, happening to people close to you, or happening in the outer world, right? The bigger, wider world, you're playing a part in it in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying this to for you to take it in and blame yourself. I'm certainly not blaming myself, but I'm certainly looking at it all and going, what is the meaning? What's the bigger meaning behind all of this? What can I learn from all of this? How can I reorient? There we go. We're back to reorienting ourselves in all of this. Now, the moon today is so crazy. Like, I'm going to show you a picture because I highlighted it for everybody. So over here on the left, I guess it's my left. I don't know if it's your left when you're looking at this, but right here's the sun and the moon, right? The moon at the time I drew the chart up this morning at 6:30 or something was, just 2 degrees away from the sun. But you can see it's at the point of a T square in orange. That's the T square. Involved in the T square is Chiron and Pluto. Pluto is in opposition to the sun and the moon, right? It's a little wide, but with Pluto, we allow bigger orbs. We have a yod with the point of the yod at Venus and the base at Neptune and Pluto. Again, we have Pluto, right? And then there's this beautiful kite. And the release point of the kite pointed down here at the south node, boom, opposing Chiron. So we have work to do in this new moon. And I find it fascinating that we have this intensity in a moon that is particularly nurturing, mothering, caring, empathetic, right? It's just fascinating to me. So we have a second set of things to reorient to. So if we look, let's first look at the moon itself. I'll give you some little tidbits about the moon and Cancer moon in particular, and then we'll look at each of those powerful transits or configurations aspect patterns and talk about how they impact this whole process of this new moon, where we're in the dark, right? Remember, new moon in the dark, consciousness needing to be brought forth, right? So, first of all, the moon in Cancer today is in a sextile to Uranus. It's already happened. So, we're already um, inspired, perhaps excited, looking forward to freedom of something or liberation from something. The conjunction to the sun, due to happen in 3 hours here. A trine to Neptune, which brings our instinct and our intuition to the fore, and an opposition to Pluto. Whoa, Moon, Pluto, a very powerful transformation of our inner world, of our landscape inside, right? Our inner, our thinking, our patterns, right? So we have a lot of powerful energy right here in the moon today. Now, this is a nurturing moon. We just talked about this nurturing, mothering, empathetic. It's a very caring sign. Cancer nurtures. It is the great mother, right? The mother sign. It rules home and family and our traditions, our base, our foundation, right? It's the moon naturally rules the fourth house of your astrology chart. So, since the moon rules Cancer and Cancer's domicile is the fourth house, home is the fourth house, we have a lot of connection to that foundation and this idea of belonging. We all want to belong to we belong to a family, perhaps, to a lineage, to a race, to a community, a tribe, all of these things, right? Belonging, so very important to not only Cancer moon, but also to human beings in general, right? Things go very wrong in a person's upbringing when they don't feel like they belong or when when they're, marginalized or pushed to the outer banks of something. There's a certain vulnerability in the sign, right? We're vulnerable. We're leading with our emotions here, right? Our emotions make us vulnerable, vulnerable to other people, vulnerable to circumstances, and the need to sort of understand emotional energy is a big part of the Cancer experience. And it is what helps us lay a healthy foundation in family, in your own consciousness, but also in the home base from which you can go out into the world and explore or do your work. Right? Everybody needs to have that home base. It forms a kind of tether, if you will, that we all require pretty much a base, right? A home base that no matter how far I wander from home, I can always come back to the people I know and love, right? There's that. And in that, then the Cancer energy brings us safety and security. It's a big sign around safety and security, feelings of belonging and protection, all wrapped up in this sign. There's also the need for financial security in this. I was totally loath to have a car payment. I did not want to do this because it upsets the whole financial security. How do I fit in a car payment and also a higher insurance payment now because I have to have full coverage on a car? But I do it, right? You have to find a way to do it. Or you if I embrace that with fear, then I'm going to get fear back. But if I can embrace this with openness and wonder, then I can see that there are possibilities, right, for how this can go. And there's also a certain amount of tenacity that comes with Cancer. I've often been told I'm determined, stubborn. That's the word people use, stubborn. But I feel like it's that I'm tenacious, I'm perseverant, right? That I really pull those qualities out in a storm, right? That there's that quality. And with the moon here now, we are all looking at needing this quality, this ability to withstand and to persevere through until we get to where we want to go with that new moon, especially. Emotions, changing moods, awareness of our own emotions and taking care of our own emotions, right? It's not up to me to monitor your emotions, but it is up to me to monitor my reaction to your emotions. or to your actions. So we learn a lot about emotional authority, emotional IQ, if you will, emotion EQ, emotional quotient, right? We're raising that energy here. And then also learning at the same time through this new moon about being sensitive to other people's emotions and their moods. Not that we have to do anything about it. It's not your job to make someone happy. It's not your job to quell the fears of someone else. Um, it is up to you, though, to be there and hold space for that person to move through their emotions, being sensitive to what is going on with that person or with the people in the group around you, that type of thing. Keeping in mind that everybody at this point is a little more sensitive, feeling a little more emotional on the sleeve kind of thing. Moods changing, which is all a part of the moon as well, right? The moon's many faces, changing moods, right? Now we have to watch out for a few things with this moon because we can become clingy or needy, right? We want to hold on to the way things were. We want to hold on to the people in our lives. We could become possessive, right? Our things. This is my thing. This is mine. You can't have it. We kind of think of that around Scorpio too, but it's also a water sign. Scorpio and Cancer, kind of both watery. That possessiveness might be more around the fear of having not enough in Cancer, right? The fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment. Those things can come up, especially when you're trying to set an intention to go out in the world and be who you want to be, right? Maybe you've been rejected in the past, or your ideas have been rejected in the past, or you've been abandoned by parents or by loved ones, or been abandoned by an employer or something like that. So those things can come up. And of course, in the body, the sign of Cancer rules the chest and the breasts, the pancreas, the stomach, and the growth of tumors in the body, right? So we watch tumors with this. Not to say that there's a one-to-one um, uh, correlation. We're looking at, some ideas around how those parts of the body can play out um, Cancer energies. All right. I'm going to stop for a second and say good morning because I've missed all of you. And I want to just run down, say good morning to Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel and to Julie. It's great to have you here. Good morning, Tom. Good to see you. Hang on to your butts. We're in for a wild ride. That was what he sent me in a text yesterday as well. And it made me go, oh, yes, we are in this great reorientation. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, yes, the energy is already weird. Good morning, Corey. Hello, Joan Durchy. Irene from Sweden, nice to have you with us. Tom says, do twins ever wonder if one of them wasn't planned? Couldn't tell you that. But I can tell you that if Terry suddenly has a feeling like in, let's say, his left knee begins to ache or throughout the whole day is bothering him, sure enough, something's going on with his twin brother TJ, and he's likely hurt his knee or something, because that's actually happened in the past where one of them is hurt and the other one calls and says, "What's going on with your knee? What's going on with your back? What's going on with your fill in the blank?" Good morning to Kajella and Sylvester. And Sylvester says, that's awesome. Keep adapting to the changes as we go to open and be in the flow. It's the way we have to be, right? And let's see. Sylvester also says he's excited for new beginnings and learning more about himself. Good morning, Pam Zaruba. Energy's moving up and down, super calm, then stomach ache for no reason, then super calm again. Welcome to my world, Pam. Julie, you're welcome. Andy girl, hello. 12th house with Chiron. Also, yay, you're going to go through some healing, I bet. Amanda Jeffs, good morning. Cancer is in my third. Retrograde Saturn is there too natally. So what are you trying to create here then? What new stableness do you need? What new foundation do you need? One that's going to support you in communicating your message, living your truth, talking your walk, walking your talk. Gayla, good morning to you. Christine, hello. She says, I experienced that with my kids. So it's good to have all of you here with me and all of you listening out there behind the scenes. It's good to be back and good to have you here with me this morning. So now let's look at the next set of things that are powerfully reorienting us in a new world, if you will. The first thing is the new moon T square. Remember, I mean, it's extraordinary to have one major configuration, let's say, in a new moon. It is quite another thing to have an exaggeration, if you will, with three major configurations happening in a full any moon, right? In any day, for that matter. So let's take down the T square first of all. So remember, the T square is this orange spot here, where the release point is up here at Chiron in Aries. And we have the opposition in here from the new moon, so the sun moon conjunction to Pluto. And again, not exact. None of this is exact, but it's damn close. It's so close that I am not going to say that it's not happening, right? I'm not going to say, oh, no, that's not a T square, because it is. And it's a biggie, because the point at Chiron tells us that the release in Aries is about finding our own true, authentic voice, our own true authentic self, our authority, and to assert ourselves in our own identity, right? Pulling out the more individualistic parts of ourselves. It doesn't mean that we're not part of the group. It doesn't mean that we're, not a part of the tapestry that is humanity. It means that we're finding our own unique voice. And we've had problems here. It's Chiron, right? We've had problems here. The opposite sign from this, Aries, is Libra. Libra likes to be in sort of a support position. It likes to be behind the scenes, right? I'll support you. I'll also tell you what I think you want to hear. I'll also do things that placate and create peace, that are collaborative or cooperative. And I'm not saying that we're doing away with those things, because certainly we're not. But we need to balance that against our own needs, our own path forward. Where do we want to go? And a T square is highly energetic. It almost pushes us to heal that particular thing. And the opposition, the tension, is between the sun moon, what's new, right? And what consciousness do we need to bring to things that can create a very powerful personal transformation, a la Pluto in the final degree of Capricorn. So it might be, what do we have to destroy still? What do we have to let go of in order to build a new foundation that allows us to move toward that Chiron in Aries, that is about standing in our own light, standing in our own power? Then we have the kite. Now, the kite is always a very positive configuration. When you find it in a chart, it almost kind of feels like that person has a special mission, if you will. Um, it brings a lot of good energy, but it is also having a release through the tip. And when we look at this kite, I mean, it's upside down, right? So, very definitely you see it's a kite there, but it's looking this direction. And its point, its base, its opposition to the release starts in Chiron and moves down to the south node. The south node, remember, is the past. It holds the gifts and the talents and the experiences, but also the baggage. It holds the not self, to use human design language. And in that, it shows us, the kite shows us that there's a release of the old, a release, right? We're releasing the pain. It's like a shoot, right? A shoot, right? If we just say, okay, I'm done being afraid of using my voice. I'm done being, the victim of unhealthy body. I'm done being the victim of not knowing who I am, right? I'm done. And it just shoots out through the kite. But the kite is also supported. It has two planets on either side of it in sextile, right? So here we have a sextile to the galactic center. I love it. And a sextile over here to the planet Venus, who, as you know, is in stasis, basically. She's at the degree where she is going to retrograde later this week. So she's in a holding pattern, ready to reorient. She is ready to move us in a different direction as well, and to support what you love, to support you and your finances, to support you in your relationships. But ready to retrograde means that we're going to have some interesting things going on that we might have to change, right? There's some need for change. Now the other sextile over to the galactic center is full of potential. What lives in the galactic center? It's the way station, the crossroads of all beings coming into this solar system. So it holds a lot of the energy of what could be possibility energy. It's very much about change, right? The galactic center is always promoting moving forward. I think it's the source of our evolution, right? I don't know how to substantiate that, but I feel it that the galactic center holds the key to our evolution, not just here on Earth, but throughout the solar system. If there are other beings in this planet, they're also or in the solar system, beings in the solar system, they're also being influenced by the galactic center. So we have the galactic center showing us that all things are possible, but that we're the ones that hold the key by releasing our fears, releasing our limitations, and elevating, if you will, reorienting ourselves to what is possible, what we could be, creating a new identity, creating our true identity. Let me say that. We don't need a new identity. We just need our true one. You need to bring out your true self, right? That's the key. And then we also have the yod. So the yod is similar to a T square in energetic push, right? In the need for um, change, for adapting something new. But the yacht sometimes has a more faded quality to it. It feels like it's been out of our hands, right? That we're being pushed. And the point of the yod here is in green, right? The yod's base, what brings it stability, is Neptune. So you could think of spirit, you could think of unconditional love, you could think of letting go of disillusionment, of the need of our addiction behaviors, and then Pluto aiding in the transformation of all of that, and all of it pointed at what we say here is Venus. Venus, right? So we have the need to release toward Venus, so toward love, toward peace and harmony, toward a creation of your own self expression. It's in Leo, right? We're releasing to Leo. We're releasing spiritual Pisces, building Capricorn, and releasing those things into Leo, the sign of self expression, of identity, of individuating. So, God, are you guys getting this? Can you just feel like all of this is really planting us firmly in the way of reorienting our lives away from the things that we're doing to make other people happy? Um, where we're overly compromising ourselves, let's say, to releasing the fear of not being able to do what you want to do and getting back in alignment with that. It's just it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me. So again, that's the second major reorientation. The first was our concept of the moon cycle. The second one is now these powerful configurations designed to put us back on the right track for us personally, right? And collectively, right? In order to get on the right track collectively, we really have to start by getting on the right track personally. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen the other way around. It's the changes that go on within us that affect the collective, and then the collective changes in response to the changes that we've made. Okay, that's how that works. Now, the third reorientation. Is there four? There is a fourth one. I don't know. We'll get to it today. The third major reorientation happens tomorrow when the nodes shift. And it's not just that the nodes are shifting because they shift every 18 months. It's that they are shifting into the sign of Aries and Libra, sort of mimicking these configurations today with the moon that have their base in Chiron in Aries, or have their nozzle point to Aries. And Aries being the first sign of the zodiac, this is a tremendous opportunity collectively and individually for a new beginning. So the shifting of the nodes is from July 18th. They'll be in Aries, Libra, North node in Aries, South node in Libra from July 18th tomorrow until January of 2025. A long time, even though that'll go by in a flash, right? And then we'll be talking about the next set. So this time is all about finding, if you haven't found it yet, and strengthening your personal identity, your personal path to independence, and finding the inner warrior within you, right? Not to go to battle with people, not to go to battle or war necessarily, but that part of you that's that really the that warrior energy, that strength, that fortitude, right? That determination and tenacity to stick with the path as you are defining it for yourself, right? For yourself. This is about your leadership potential. Now, I'm not saying all of us have to go out there and be leaders, right? That doesn't always happen. But leadership isn't just about, being at the top of a hierarchy. Leadership is about being yourself without comparing yourself to others. Um, it is about being true to yourself without compromise, right? Not over not being true to someone else, but being true to yourself, right? Being the leader in your own way, in your own world, in your own field, in your own family. Being true to yourself is the big thing here. And then overcoming indecision. Ooh, waffling, right? That's a Libran thing, right? Waffling, indecisive. I see all the different sides and all the different possibilities, and I have a failure to choose, so I don't choose, even though that's still a choice. So overcoming indecision. And here's where your human design comes in so spectacularly, because you're using your type and your strategy and your authority in your human design to be able to overcome indecision, to know how to make the right decisions for you, not for me, not for your family. Now, you have to do what's right for you, because 9 times out of 10, that decision that's right for you is right for the others around you. Whether it allows them to see how making good decisions for yourself is supportive, or because then they get to see how to do and make good decisions on their own as they get older, if it's children, or your partner says, "Oh yeah, I can do this too." Here's where instinct will serve us all. Instinct, right? Your inner voice, your instinctual, intuitive self coming forward here. There's also the need to learn about assertiveness versus aggressiveness, right? We must, and this is going to sound selfish, and it isn't. This is more self centered. We have to state our own needs. We have to know what we need first. Then ask others what their preferences might be in this decision. And then we can make a fair compromise. If you are automatically setting out to not get what you want because you're afraid that it's going to be counter to what someone else wants, then you're sacrificing yourself, right? You're sacrificing your needs. You're compromising in a negative way as opposed to a positive expression of that. So you must know first, and you must state first your own preference to whatever the decision is, right? I've considered this decision and I'm now going to take action in this way, right? I'm going to move in this direction. How does that feel to you, and what would your feelings be about that? What are your goals, and how does that fit into what you want? And that person gets the opportunity to state their needs or their preferences. Then now we each know what the other really needs and wants, and we can set about to make a fair compromise, right? A good compromise, not the negative one where I'm giving away everything I wanted. I'm giving away myself because I can't, I have to do what you want me to do. So in each of those things, you see the effect of the South Node in Libra, which in the case of finding and strengthening your own personal identity becomes a factor because with the South Node in Libra, there's been many experiences of giving ourselves away, of doing things for other people first rather than ourselves. There is a time and a place for that, but there's never a time and a place for you to do that and sacrificing yourself, right? You got to balance this. When we're looking at that leadership potential and bringing out your true self, what we have to do is let go of the comparing of ourselves to other people or of to, how other people do things, because how other people do things is their truth, right? Your truth is over here where you do it, how you do it. And then a certain amount of the assertiveness that we have to bring out with the Aries North Node comes from the Libra indecisiveness, right? That waffling, right? Okay. I did that pretty quick. So, questions about all of this. I'm going to go back to the chat for a second and see comments. Corey says, someone I know suffers from cysts. They just found a new one yesterday. I wonder where cancer is in their chart. There's that, right? Um, and again, correlation, not one-to-one cause. There's no causation, but there's correlation. There we go. Thank you, Pam, Zaruba, everybody out there. Please hit the thumbs up button if you are watching on YouTube, if you're enjoying this video. And if you are on Facebook, hit the like, right? Thank you very much for that reminder, Pam. Tabitha, if I don't have any planets in Cancer, does that mean I'm not affected? Oh, no, 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 not at all. Because Cancer is sitting on a house, in a house. So the contents of that part of your life are up for something new here, right? But also you have the moon somewhere, and as the moon, as the ruler of Cancer, you could look to that moon and see, well, what is it doing? How is it placed? What is it affected by? Is it affected positively? Is it affected negatively? Is there challenges to that moon? That might give you some more information and insight into the new moon. So there's never a point, even if you have an empty house or an empty sign, or it looks like an empty house, an empty sign, you still have a planet that rules that sign, and that planet is placed somewhere in your chart and is impacted by the same energy in some way. Good morning, Tylin, and sending love and healing energy to those who are struggling, says Sylvester. Good morning, Asa. It's good to have you with us. Tom, it's an inside job. We heal on the inside, then we heal on the outside. Heal individually, then heal collectively. Indeed, it's an inside job. We heal the inside, then we heal the outside. Good. Well said. Okay, let's take a look then at the last big thing in our reorientation concept here, and that is about Venus retrograde. Oh, one last thing. Sorry, maybe the biggest thing about the nodes coming into Aries into Libra is the idea about finding your inner peace without making things better for others, right? You don't have to try to make life better for someone else in order for you to be at peace. Peace is your own work, right? You find the peace. You can be at peace even with chaos all around you. And this is a time for us with the nodes in this configuration to strengthen self love, right? Loving yourself enough, becoming confident. Who cares if what happens isn't how you thought it would happen? It's the confidence to go out and bring yourself out to the world. So it's love and support and appreciation for your own uniqueness. That's what these nodes will be teaching us, right? Big, big energies there. All right, now let's go to Venus retrograde. That's the next big thing. I believe that happens on Saturday. Yep, the same day that the sun shifts into Leo, Venus moves retrograde. The sun shifts at 6:51 p.m. So I'm guessing Venus retrograde is going to occur before that. Venus retrograde occurs at 6:30 p.m. Holy cow, in tandem, basically. So Venus retrograde, 20 minutes before the sun moves into Leo. So we have the sun at the very final degree of Cancer, an anaretic degree, right? 29. Learning all about that nurturing and the concept of self care and empathy and emotional intelligence and all of that, right? And then moving from then into the sign of Cancer. Now, Venus retrograde. Venus is an inner planet. And so that means when Mercury and Venus and Mars are retrograde, they affect us probably more in personally, interpersonally, in personally than say the outer planets that go into retrograde because they're affecting us collectively or transpersonally, right? Jupiter and Saturn, transpersonal, and Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are that definitely collective. So Venus is personal, right? She's a personal planet. And a Venus retrograde in Leo is going to echo everything we've already talked about today, in that um, it is going to be about how we bring out our own personal genius. And amazingly, what it is that we say yes to in our lives. What do we say yes to, and how do we make the correct decisions to say yes? Right? What does yes mean? Right? We are agreeing, we are signing up for, we are embracing something, and we have to make sure that we're saying yes to the right things, because some people are going to be saying yes to everything and then later going, "Oh, what the bleep did I just do? Why did I say yes? Oh my goodness." Right? Why did I do that? So we're going to be taking care during this period of time from July 22nd until September 20 or September 3rd. That's the retrograde of Venus time. So we're going to take care with the things that we are expressing. Now, Venus herself rules relationships, love, romance, right? She's the love principle, our values. She represents what we value, our ethics in representing our values, representing ourselves in those values and what we value, and our creative expression also. Venus is very much involved in the artsy, crafty, um, imagination that we bring to life through art or through beauty or through expression, right? Venus and Leo, this is hugely creative and hugely self-expressive, right? Those are the two big key words I could bring up with Venus and Leo, right? So here we are, though, with a planet in retrograde, meaning, from our appearance here on Earth, she looks like she's moving backwards. And that means it's a time of reevaluation. Any planet in retrograde brings it more inward. We're looking deeper, right? We're looking deeper. And right now we're reevaluating then, or we will be when she's retrograde, what we want and what we need from love. How do we want to be loved? And also how we express our own love to others, affection and romance. How do we do that? And our appreciation of others and of ourselves. How do we do that? Right? We're looking again. Maybe we discover that we haven't been very appreciative of our own selves. So it gives us this opportunity to reorient to that. Leo is a sign that rules over matters of the heart. So that's a big deal, the heart. So we may feel more passionate, more playful, more joyful, right? In the expression, more generous, magnanimous, right? Leo energy is big, it's dramatic, but we can also become more drama queens, um, more egocentric, more about me, 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 right? So we have to be able to find the balance here. We can also encounter old flames, if you will, old romantic partners, or unresolved issues from the past that still need closure. So it could be, somebody from the past coming back, maybe somebody you broke up with and you can come to peace, right? There's some resolution there. It could be, this happens a lot with Venus in retrograde, somebody that you used to love, a high school friend, a flame comes back, and it gives you the opportunity now to connect in a way that you couldn't back then. So there's that part. But it is a time also for closure and healing in matters of the heart, right? There's that. This is also a time for us to revisit our um, our past creative projects or our hobbies, the things that we love to do. and maybe bring them out in new ways or showcase our skills in new ways or our loves in new ways, our talents, right? Bring your talents out. Maybe a time to discover this latent talent that's just that you kind of knew was there, but now it gives you this opportunity to bring it out more. Leo being a sign that loves to be in the limelight, it loves the shine, right? It loves the admiration. So we may feel more inspired sometimes during this time period to pursue things that we've been hesitant to before, right? Maybe we weren't quite ready to bring that piece of art out or that work that we've been doing, but now, or maybe share with people what our passions are, but now it's a time to share them with the world. But you may also face some obstacles in the process or some delays in getting that artistic endeavor out there because, again, the planet is retrograde, right? She's very much keeping us to a timetable that isn't of our own making, right? We can't push, but we also have to go forward in this with confidence and authenticity, right? We have to put our best foot forward in all of this. We may also, because of the financial aspect here, be revisiting our financial picture, our financial goals, making adjustment to those things so that we can align them to our true values and to our true desires, right? What are you spending your money on? I had to have this conversation with myself because I have to accommodate a car payment. I have to accommodate that. How am I going to do that? I can do that by cutting expenses. I can do that by creating more income, right? How am I going to do that? So our finances come into play here, depending again on where Venus is retrograde, and that's going to be dependent on where Leo is in your chart. So Leo happens to be on my second house of finances. Interesting, right? So for you, it might be in your 10th house of career or profession, how you're seen in the world, how you bring your authenticity and your authority into the world. Could be in the 8th house of how do I pare down my finances? The 8th house is debt and credit. It could be, in any of these 12 different houses. So personalize it. Find out where Leo is in your chart and look to Venus and what planets she may be touching on. In my chart, she's going to touch my Black Moon Lilith, my Mars, my Uranus, and my North Node. Whoa, right? There's a big deal there. Is your natal Venus in a good relationship to Leo or in a not so good relationship to Leo? Can kind of point you to where the challenges are, where you need to reorient your energies around finances or love or relationships. Now, this might be a time when we're tempted to splurge. The reason I bought the car is because it was pre-Venus retrograde, and I kinda knew that we were gonna need a car, and I didn't want that need to happen during the retrograde, so I did it consciously. I made a conscious decision to do it sooner rather than later, because during the retrograde Venus, things like that are of cost, so homes or cars or big vacations and things like that, we don't always see the value clearly, right? So it may look like a duck, it might sound like a duck, but underneath it's a flea, right? Or a lemon. And because we don't see that value clearly, we can get, caught up in something that later becomes more of a burden than what we wanted. So try not to find yourself in a place of regret by spending big chunks of money during the retrograde. Unless you've already planned it out, right? Unless you've already planned that out before the retrograde began. Because it might feel really good in the moment to do that, and it could turn out to not be what you expected, but you might not know that until after you've already signed on the dotted line, you've already moved into that house, and now you realize the foundation is cracked, whatever, right? Those kinds of things can come back to haunt us. So be very aware of what you're buying, what you're using your resources on during those months, right? From July 22nd to again September 3rd. Venus in retrograde in Leo is not necessarily a great time to start new relationships or to make major financial decisions. It's just not. We may have all the information we think we need or all the clarity we need, we think, but when it turns out we really don't. We didn't have all the information. We only saw the gloss on the top, right? We only saw the shimmer, the glow. We didn't see underneath that it was rotted. So we have to be careful. So instead, this is a time to reflect on what you really want, what you really would like to create in your life, what you would like to fill in the space of relationships, of finances, of love, of creativity, of joyfulness in your life. How can you improve your own sense of self love? That goes along with these nodes shifting into Aries and Libra. Self love, self expression, self confidence, right? This is all about you. It's all about you, but not in a way that's selfish, not in a way that isn't caring or sensitive to others, but in a way that's really bringing out you, right? That's what these are all about. Having a better understanding of what your values are, of what you value, of your own value, right? And then being ready to move forward with confidence, with joyfulness, and even a sense of playfulness, right? Life is a play. Let's play in life and not get so serious, right? All right. Reorientation. There's a lot to be said about that, right? Let's see. So, what's up for this week? I have a very busy week. I am jam packed. I am on Thursday, the 20th at noon, going to be in the Astro Design Meetup. I will place that link again in Facebook and in the under the video. If you haven't yet signed up to do that, it's free. It's an opportunity to get your questions asked about any of the things we just talked about, any of the things that are coming up. And then on Friday, I have Pia and Cullen joining me, and we can dive into what is the collective shadow period that we're going into. I really want to break that apart a little bit and dig deeper because, with the vast number of reorientating things that are going on astrologically, in tropical or traditional astrology, I want to see how that plays out in the shadow of this next period, which, by the way, begins tomorrow. With the nodes shifting, we start the collective shadow period, and will also include Venus shifting retrograde, which starts a new Venus cycle. So, whew, lots coming up, right? So that'll be on Friday. In the meantime, much love to all of you. It was great being with you again. I will see you on Friday. Bye for now.